me just say this. All right, Donald Trump. You have to understand. I mean, listen. What I'm trying to say is, okay, all right, I understand. It's how would somebody take the doggone, I mean, I guess my point is, look, you got crazy people in your family too, okay? Thanks for joining me. If you're a regular listener, welcome back. Thanks as always for investing your time. If you're a new listener, if you stumbled across this on Twitter, please listen, hang in there, give it a listen. It's something different. It's not your typical political podcast, I'll guarantee you that. And you know you need something new in your life. So listen for a while, then go check me out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, Google Podcasts, Pandora, anywhere you get podcasts. Let's start the show. So here we are again, talking about something crazy Donald Trump has done, how it's a threat to our very democracy, how he's inciting people to commit violence or threaten the lives of law enforcement. I mean, this truly is an incredible country. Anything really is possible here. If a man with barely an 8th grade education can rise to the level of power that he has and bring the most powerful country to the brink of implosion, yep, truly an amazing country. Now, I actually have some audio from the deposition Trump just gave, if you'd like to hear it. This is exclusive audio. This is a deposition he gave related to the investigation into his businesses. And you have to specify because there are so many investigations going on. But yes, he gave a deposition in this ongoing case. Here's the exclusive audio I have. Mr. Trump, would you state your full name, please?
I plead the fifth.
Mr. Trump, is it true you've inflated the values of your properties?
No, but I can tell you that I plead the fifth.
Mr. Trump, is it true you have an inappropriate attraction to your daughter?
I plead the fifth.
That's exclusive audio. I don't know why CNN is not playing it. He pled the fifth 440 times in that deposition, in all seriousness. 440 times he took the fifth. Doesn't he sound different when he's behind closed doors? That's not what this episode is about. I think what I will do, maybe next episode, is give you a side-by-side discussion of Donald Trump and his legal problems and Hunter Biden and his legal problems. Won't that be fun? I have been promising to go back and talk about Hunter Biden and his laptop because the episode I did covering that topic left people unsatisfied. So we will get into that next time. Even though I know Trump and the Mar-a-Lago search are the big thing in the news right now, Trump taking classified top secret documents and hiding them at Mar-a-Lago. But what else did he take? Is he hiding more documents at one of his other many properties? Does he have secret proof that aliens exist at his golf course in Bedminster, New York? Is Rudy Giuliani carrying around secret proof that Obama was born in Kenya in a briefcase? Now, you think I'm crazy, but I don't say anything on this show without there's a purpose. I told you 3 or 4 weeks ago about how for the past 20 years, conservative media, conservative politicians have not let us forget Bill and Hillary Clinton took an end table and a lamp from the White House when they left. They have repeatedly brought that fact back up that the Clintons took some furniture from the White House that they thought was theirs to take. Turns out it wasn't, so they returned it back to the White House. They've repeatedly reminded us of that to illustrate how corrupt the Clintons are. If taking furniture is corrupt, what's taking top secret documents? But it's like every Republican, every bit of conservative media, just right away, this is tyranny. This is an affront to our democracy. Merrick Garland's Justice Department is blah, blah, blah. You know the deal. You know what they said. Because they don't surprise us. Can't you surprise me once? Whether it's conservative media or liberal media, we generally know exactly what they're going to say before they say it. Can't they surprise us just once? What's the use? That's not what we're here to discuss. Again, I'll discuss it more in the future if it's warranted. But we're here to talk about the Inflation Reduction Act. Will it work? That's what we're here to discuss. Let's stick with that. The bill passed the House on Friday. No Democrats voted against it, and no Republicans voted for it. Same when it passed the Senate a few days prior. No one crossed party lines, and Vice President Kamala Harris had to vote to break the tie, so the bill was passed on reconciliation, meaning the Democrats only needed a simple majority. Republicans couldn't filibuster it. Now, there are legitimate disagreements about what the bill will do. Democrats have been saying it will reduce the deficit by $300 billion, leaving out a key point, usually, that's over 10 years. It matters. They just say, this is going to reduce the deficit by $300 billion. Yes, over 10 years. Everything is over 10 years. Everything they say in the bill, what it will do, is basically generally over 10 years. And the nonpartisan Congressional Budget Office that scores these bills actually puts the deficit reduction lower. Some estimates have it as low as $100 billion over 10 years. So it matters. There's some discrepancies there. There's also an important argument being made right now that a lot of people who buy electric vehicles won't qualify for the tax credit for buying an electric vehicle because of something written into the bill about buying the parts that are used in the electric vehicle, that being made in America, has to be made in America. And a lot of these parts are not made in America. So if you buy an electric vehicle that has this important component that's not made in America, you don't qualify for the tax credit. Important to note. And more things like that will come out. There's no question. It's a big bill. There'll be other things, other little loopholes that will be discovered as time goes on. And so we can squabble back and forth about the bill itself, about the name of the bill, and why the Democrats named it the Inflation Reduction Act right now. Seems pretty obvious, as if Republicans don't do that when it suits them. But okay, my concern is the squabbling that goes on in our media, the coverage in our media. That's my concern. I have no problem with squabbling back and forth over the bill on the left, on the right, but just give me good information. That's all. I just want good information. Good information helps you make good decisions. Bad information helps you make bad decisions. One-sided information helps you make one-sided decisions. And I simply don't get that. I don't get why we are comfortable and accepting of one source of information that tells us everything about this bill is bad. Everything. Worst bill ever. And then the other side, everything about this bill is good. Best bill ever. There is no downside to this. Now, if you told me 20 years ago there was a downside to marrying Halle Berry, I would have said you must be crazy. She's gorgeous. She's rich. She's talented. There can't be a downside. And even if there is a downside, it can't be bad enough to cancel out the upside. But 20 years later, we've seen even Halle Berry can have relationship troubles. She's been divorced 3 times. So maybe she's a bit of a handful. I don't know. And that's my point. We don't know what we don't know. That's the problem. We don't know what we don't know about this bill and how it will work when it's put into practice. So how can anyone come out and say, it's all good, best ever, no problems here, or it's all bad, worst ever? Now hang in here with me. Don't get nervous. This is not going to be a rip the Inflation Reduction Act as a bad bill. I actually like the bill. I support it. Let me repeat that. I support it. I support a lot of the provisions that are in this bill. I think anytime we can find a way for people to keep more of their money instead of giving it to corporations who are taking advantage of people with these prescription drug prices, especially when it's seniors, I like that. I like the cap on the out-of-pocket Medicare spending. I like the cap on the cost of insulin. I like saving people money on prescription drugs. Got no problem with that. What I don't like is not having a full, unbiased discussion by the media when these bills are being debated and then after they get passed in Congress. That I don't like. Let me show you what I mean. Here's a clip from a left-leaning radio show from earlier in the week. Now, before I play it, remember, I played plenty of clips from right-leaning radio shows, TV shows, Tucker Carlson and the like, and I've hit them hard. So I'm not trying to bash this radio host here. I listen to the show regularly. I enjoy the show, but I think this clip will illustrate the problem, in my humble opinion, that we have in our media. Listen to the clip.
Johnny from Florida. Real quick, Johnny.
Yeah, I'm just real sad that you guys will push this poison about the spinach package.
Well, let me hold on a second. Hey, I hope hey, do me a favor. I hope you're sad enough to cry, because let me tell you, I hope you said you pushing this poison limit. Wait a minute. What's poison about a limit on Medicare out-of-pocket costs? What is a poison about free vaccine for seniors? What is poison about cheaper insulin for people who are that? What's poison about that? Nothing. Goodbye. What is sad about the fact that insulin is now can be capped at $35 a month? What's sad about that? Huh? What's sad about that? What's sad about corporations that don't even pay any federal tax? Now they got 15%. What is sad about that, you chump? Now just go on back to your Fox, the right-wing mega cap wearing people. What? Because hey, what is sad about any of that? Brandon from Georgia. Good morning, Brandon.
Hey, good morning, Joe. How you doing?
I'm okay.
All right. I got and this is an honest and sincere question. Me and a few guys were standing around listening to you earlier, and there was a guy that called in and said that he wasn't too sure about the spending bill.
No, he didn't say that. He said it's sad.
Right. He said it was sad. Now, I do understand this platform is about saying things from different perspectives.
No, it isn't about that. No, it isn't. And I'm going to make it very clear, and for you and your buddies, I'm not putting up with bullshit. That's why I said very clearly what is sad about anything that's in this bill. And let me y'all understand something. I know bullshit when I hear it. And I know that there are people who will call in. It's not that they have a different perspective. It's that they're trying to break into this discussion with this Republican talking point that, quite honestly, is dishonest. And that's how it is. Now, if they don't like the way I handle it, then they can go listen to 700 other channels.
Okay, may I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Now, the question is this. Now, I do understand that, and we all are in agreement of the bill. We think it's a terrific thing that happened. But the question is, we were left with the question because you just asked
left with what question? Left with what question?
We were left with the question of what was wrong with it.
And by the way, nothing. I answered the question. And not only did I wait, am I talking? Excuse me. Am I talking? Pot him down. Am I talking? I answered the question. I answered the question, and I answered it in detail. Now listen to yourself. You said, by the way, I agree. Now, if you agree and I agree, then why would I put somebody on who doesn't even have the facts? What is there to disagree?
We never will know because you hung up on him.
You're damn right, like I'm about ready to hang up on you. What is the other perspective? What is the other perspective? can't even explain what's wrong with it. Well, you didn't let them explain what's wrong. What's wrong with it? What, in other words, what's wrong with any of this? Nothing. Nothing. What's wrong with what is it? Nothing. But, I just want to hear the other perspective. Then find another channel.
I hate doing this. I really do, because I do respect that host. But I'm doing a podcast, and I have a right to criticize or point out things that I disagree with the same way he can listen to my podcast and criticize me. I don't think he would. I think he'd think, you're beneath me. I don't have time to be criticizing you. But that's fine, too. Maybe I am. He's been doing this for years, decades. I've been doing this podcast for a year. I'm just some guy. But I'm the guy with an opinion. I'm a guy with a point of view. And I've brought this point of view to this very host before. If that sounds at all familiar to you, it's because I've called his show. I called his show. And strangely enough, it was basically the same point to discuss the Build Back Better agenda. The earlier version of Build Back Better, when it was still $3.5 billion, trillion dollars. I called in to discuss it and to simply state that while these are great ideas that are in Build Back Better, and I agree with a lot of the ideas that are in Build Back Better, they're just that. They're ideas. And ideas are meaningless without execution. And the government isn't very good at the execution. That was the point I wanted to make, and I got yelled at and shut down and hung up on, just like this caller did. You can go back and listen to that phone call that I had with this host on the episode, I believe it was the episode from my show, The Reason Biden's Poll Numbers Are Down. That's where you can find a clip from when I called into his show. And you'll see, it's the same treatment. And I just don't understand that. I just don't get that. It's crazy to me that we have to take an approach of there's nothing at all wrong with this bill or there's everything wrong with this bill. One or the other. That's the media you have to choose from. Either go to the media that says there's nothing at all wrong, and if you say there is, you're a troll. Or go to the media that says this is the worst bill that's ever been written. Pick one. That's all you got. That's all you got. Pick one. Isn't that crazy? Wouldn't it be better to have some media that says, hey, here's the pros, here's the cons? If you say, here's the pros, here's the cons of the Inflation Reduction Act, that's not bashing Biden. That's not bashing the legislation. That's not being against cutting carbon emissions. That's not being against the Democratic Party. That's just simply saying, surely there must be another side to this. Surely there must be a potential downside somewhere. Even if we can't see it or anticipate it, there must be some unintended consequences we have to guard against. So here's my thought. We should start to think like venture capitalists when it comes to some of this legislation. Let's think like venture capitalists. If you came to me, and I'm a venture capitalist, to convince me to invest in your idea, that's what the legislation is. Before it gets passed, it's some ideas. Well, what's the idea? It's a teleportation device. It can instantly teleport any person or object anywhere in the world. Holy smokes, done deal. I'm in. Or, if you want to be smart, you could say, well, do you have a working prototype? Sort of. It works, but for every 1,000 simulations we've run, it turns a person inside out. Okay. Well, you don't have a teleporter. What you've got there is a small useless room. You can't sell something that accidentally kills 1 out of every 1,000 people that uses it. We're not gun manufacturers. So, how much do you need to fix it and mass produce? Well, I need $500 billion. Ooh, okay. That's a lot of money. But we raise the capital, we work out the kinks so it doesn't kill anybody. Now we question the downside. How much can we charge? How long will it take to get my investment back? How will the competition react, such as airlines? Will people use it illegally, teleporting themselves inside bank safes or Harry Styles' house? Will people rip off our design, copy it, and undercut us? What about all the unforeseen things we can't even think of? So nothing is a slam dunk, no matter how good it seems, even a teleporter. You have to take a look at what the downside could be. So a 15% tax on billion-dollar corporations that get away with paying nothing, what could be wrong with that? Well, if you ask any contractor, they will tell you what's wrong. What's wrong is the doo-doo always runs downhill. Always. So we slap a 15% minimum tax on ExxonMobil. They pass it along to Independence Contract Drilling, Inc. You heard of them? Of course not. They are just one of Exxon's many suppliers. Small company, smallish, 300 employees out of Houston, Texas. Maybe they pass it along to AK Steel Holdings out of Ohio, whose parent company is Cleveland Cliffs. Heard of them? No. But they are the largest flat-rolled steel company in North America, another supplier to Exxon. Now, they pass the cost off of the tax off to their vendors and their suppliers. All the way down the line it goes. The cost gets passed until it gets down to the landscaping company or the trucking company or the guy who washes the windows at the corporate office. That's sad. The very people you're trying to help end up getting hurt. That's sad. It's an unforeseen consequence that we have to guard against. Is there anyone out there who thinks ExxonMobil or any other billion-dollar company will just sit idly by and say, well, I guess we just make 15% less now? And maybe AK Steel and Cleveland Cliffs doesn't even continue to pass the cost down. Maybe they just decide to lay off workers in Ohio. And then the Democrats sit and scratch their heads and wonder, man, why can't we win Ohio? Why are the blue-collar workers in Ohio turning against us? Why can't we flip some of these state legislatures? That's sad, but it's also the reality because the blue-collar workers want their jobs more than they want an Obamacare subsidy or a child care tax credit or paid family leave or a lot of those other things. They want their jobs more. Not that they don't want those things, not that they wouldn't take those things, not that those things are not good. As I've always said, I agree with a lot of those ideas, have no problem with them. But if a choice between those things or my job, I'll take my job every time. Why? Hopefully my job I can keep. If I do a good job, if my company is profitable, hopefully my job I can keep. Those other things, I'm not so sure. It seems they're always squabbling in Washington about ending those things. Republicans are always trying to take those things away. I know that. You know that. And you may say, well, why would you ever vote for Republicans? Because Democrats might cost me my job. Look, we could go back and forth on this endlessly. The point is not, am I right? Am I wrong? It's not about the debate. It's about the discussion. It's about having the discussion. It's about listening to people, listening to their concerns, not yelling at them and hanging up on them. That way, you learn. Did you learn anything in the last 5 minutes that I've been talking? If not, sorry. If you did, good. Gives you some information to have a discussion. And if the discussion ends with you still thinking exactly the same thing you thought, fine. Perfectly fine. I just want us to have the discussion, not get hung up on. I hear the host of these shows say, you don't like it? Go to another show. You don't like what I'm saying? Go to another show. Well, what do we have then? What do we have then? We have two groups of people in their own bubbles getting completely separate information. Neither side talking to the other. You're telling me that's a good thing? You're telling me that's a good thing to tell people, you don't like it? Go listen to a show that you do like that tells you what you want to hear. That can't possibly be good if that's where we end up. Everyone only listening to things they agree with, only what they like. Man, I'm running long here, so I'm going to try and do this quickly because I really want to read to you from this article from the website 538.com. If you're not familiar with it, it's a good website. good source of information. 538.com. You got to spell it all out. FIVE, blah, 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 blah. This is an article from back in April of this year. Yeah, this year, in reference to the pandemic stimulus. I hate reading on podcast, but this is good. Here it goes. And I'll post this to the website as well, www.thecomparisongroup.com, because I'm going to try and just give you quick bullet points. But it starts off by saying that when the pandemic hit, everyone was pretty much in agreement. All lawmakers, all economists were in agreement that with the economy being shut down, workers needed a shot in the arm. People needed help. Everyone was in agreement on that. So we passed legislation in March of 2020. We passed a $2.2 trillion stimulus package, followed by two more installments of COVID-19 relief later in 2020, and then again in 2021. In total, it had added up to one of the most generous fiscal responses to the virus globally. There would be a catch, though, the article goes on. As U.S. prices continue to rise by rates not seen in decades, it's become clear that the stimulus came at a significant unintended cost: inflation. It's unclear whether inflation has reached its peak, but the situation is now economically and politically toxic, and it has left many of the same policymakers, advocates, and economists now asking whether the stimulus checks were a mistake. The article goes on to say, on the one hand, COVID-19 stimulus undoubtedly helped Americans in some very big, tangible ways. Namely, it reduced poverty, beyond merely keeping people afloat during the early days of the pandemic. According to the U.S. Census Bureau supplemental poverty measure, the stimulus payments moved 11.7 million people out of poverty in 2020, a drop in the poverty rate from 11.8% to 9.1%. Now, you've heard Democrats talk about that. You've heard Democrats talk about how they reduced poverty, how they lifted people out of poverty. Great thing. It says here the poverty rate was expected to fall further to 7.7% per the Urban Institute. Article continues on, saying the stimulus also cushioned workers during one of the worst economic crises in modern history, which likely helped the economy bounce back in record time. In April 2020, when Americans were receiving the first round of checks up to $1,200 with the CARES Act, the unemployment rate was a disastrous 14.7%. But 2 years later, it almost returned to its pre-pandemic levels, with many job openings. All good stuff. However, the article continues, there is also evidence that the stimulus, especially the last round, likely stoked higher and higher prices for the very people it was intended to help. Though global supply chain issues, and more recently the war in Ukraine, have been significant drivers of inflation, the divergence between U.S. and European inflation suggests there's more to it than that. In fact, a recent analysis from researchers at the Federal Reserve Bank of San Francisco found that the stimulus may have raised U.S. inflation by about 3 percentage points by the end of 2021. Look, I can go on and on with this article. It's a great article. It's a fair article. That's why it's great, because it's fair, because it says the stimulus was necessary and needed and did great things. However, it also did some bad things, some unanticipated things, some things that couldn't be helped, like contributing to inflation, which in turn hurt the very people it was trying to help. By increasing inflation so much, it outpaced wages. Doggone rootin' tootin', am I making any sense here? It's just looking at things in their totality. Is that a word? Totality? Looking at things completely, thoroughly, giving a thorough, fair, unbiased assessment of legislation before and after it's passed. We're experiencing an uptick in crime in this country. That's not disputed. Everyone acknowledges it. But why? Could it have something to do with the people released early from jail because of COVID? Could it have something to do with the people released from jail because of Trump's criminal justice reform bill? Could it have something to do with low police morale? Could it have something to do with legalizing weed? Maybe there are turf wars going on amongst the people who made money selling weed, and they're fighting over turf to sell drugs that are still illegal. Maybe the people who lost out on money they used to make selling weed are finding new ways to make money, like smash and grabs, carjackings, or stealing catalytic converters. Maybe it's none of these things. Maybe it's a combination of all of these things. Is anyone interested? Can we have an assessment? If we got something wrong, let's fix it and make it right. Republicans have told us we need to privatize prisons. If we privatize prisons, it'll save the taxpayers money because private industry can more efficiently manage the prisons. Is that true? Have we been saved money? Obamacare was supposed to lower the cost of health care. It wasn't just supposed to get people health insurance. It was supposed to lower the cost of health care by getting people health insurance. Has that happened? Have we lowered the cost of health care? And before you say, well, because Republicans have stood in the way, that's my point. How have you put in place assurances that won't happen with legislation going forward? How will you make sure that doesn't happen with the Inflation Reduction Act? If I'm a venture capitalist, I'm asking you, how have you guarded against the reaction of the competition? If we got something wrong before, let's learn from it and fix it and make it right this time. A few episodes back, I did a show about what I got wrong. Before I did it, I said, I'm going to start a regular segment on this podcast. I'll start a regular segment. Every so many episodes, I'll talk about things that I've gotten wrong. It didn't even occur to me at the time that I was saying that, as I'm basically saying, I expect to be wrong. I expect to be wrong regularly enough that I'll make it a regular segment telling you what I got wrong. Didn't even occur to me. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with saying that. I don't have a problem predicting I'm going to be wrong. And I'm going to be wrong because I can't possibly know everything from day one. So new information, new facts, new viewpoints will be presented to me, and it'll cause me to change my opinions or change my viewpoints. But it won't happen if I don't allow any new viewpoints, any new opinions, any new facts to seep in to my bubble. This is hard. I say it all the time. This is a hard way to do a show. And it may be a little more difficult of a show to listen to. Maybe you got to concentrate a little more on it. Maybe you got to force feed yourself a little more than you do the other shows. And I'm not telling you to stop listening to the other shows. I won't stop listening to the shows that I enjoy listening to, even if they are giving me one perspective, conservative, liberal. I'm just saying, try and mix in a little bit of this, if you can find it out there. Just mix in a little bit of stuff that's a little tougher to listen to. And this is tougher to do because I recognize people are conditioned. They hear something they don't like, I'm turning it off. If someone hears me say something about Alexandria, I hate when rich children inherit money, Ocasio-Cortez, they assume they got me pegged, they know what I'm all about, and they stop listening. But 30 seconds later, I may say something wonderful about Stacey Abrams. Got a problem with one, don't have a problem with the other. But how would people know that if they stop listening? So it's difficult. It's difficult for me to do this show this way. I know that. I appreciate the people that hang in. I appreciate the people who are smart enough to hang in, to invest their time. People who understand there's no way there can be all good or all bad on either side. A reasoned, logical, common sense discussion of the pros and cons of any legislation. Why it's good, what can go wrong, how can we guard against things going wrong. That's all. We're all consumers of information. There are people who get paid a lot of money to provide us with that information. I think the least they can do is provide us with the most thorough and extensive amount of information they can. Don't chase me away to another source of information and then wonder why I'm misinformed. Don't chase me away to Fox News and then wonder why I vote for Republicans. Oh, this is the part of the show where we all dance. Come on.
The other side.
Watch me dance.
Mr. Worldwide.
I'm going to do a backflip. Watch this. Watch this. Watch this. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to go to the website www.thecomparisongroup.com. Follow me on Twitter at comparison_show. Listen on Apple Podcasts. Listen on Spotify. You know where to listen. This show's running too long. I'll see you next time.